Hello everyone, my name is Yashi Logan and I am a PhD student at Georgia Tech. In this presentation, I will briefly talk about our ICIP2022 paper titled Patient-Aware Active Learning for Fine-Grained OCT Classification. The motivation behind this work is to make active learning more sensible from a medical perspective. Although active learning on medical imagery has demonstrated progress in overcoming the reliance on large, balanced datasets, the practical deployment of this paradigm still has some major challenges. Here, we show a single patient's OCT captured at different visits. We can see that there is low diversity in the disease manifestations across each visit. On the other hand, a single disease presents itself in visually diverse formats across multiple patients. This is exemplified in this image where although each patient's OCT is diagnosed with diabetic macular edema, the visual characteristics between them are unalike. Additionally, medical datasets are widely imbalanced both across classes and patients. This ultimately results in existing methods training models without properly accounting for one or more patient disease manifestations for whom there is less data. This represents a major risk for practical deployments. Therefore, the goal of this work is to incorporate patient awareness into the sample selection process of active learning. But what is patient awareness? I will answer that shortly. But first, let us focus on conventional active learning methods. These rely on a well-established representation of the data. If samples are conventionally chosen from an unbalanced dataset, the structure of the representation space will be underdeveloped and the model will generalize poorly. Furthermore, most conventional active learning paradigms applied to medical image analysis are still largely considered as black box algorithms. These inhibit the healthcare professionals from interpreting, understanding, and even correcting predictions the model has made. Data diversity is also unexploited, and so is the class and patient imbalance. As a solution to this, patient awareness involves integrating manifestations of a disease across patients into active learning frameworks. Intuitively, we are proposing to shape the representation space through medical meta-information. Specifically, we provide data diversity through patient identity. By imposing a patient constraint on the query strategies, we restructure the representation space based on a medically grounded prior. Therefore, the contributions of this paper entail augmenting an active learning paradigm with patient information, developing a modular method that is applicable to arbitrary active learning query strategies, and showing that the results are consistent across 2 architectures and 5 query strategies that match or surpass these existing baselines. In this study, we use the Kermani dataset, which has grayscale cross-sectional foveal OCT scans of varying sizes belonging to an unbalanced distribution of a healthy class and 3 types of retinal diseases: drusen, choroidal neovascularization, and diabetic macular edema. We are interested in distinguishing between the disease states and thus use only imagery from these 3 classes for fine-grained classification. All imagery were resized to be 128 by 128 and also normalized to have 0 mean and unit standard deviation. The patient and class distribution in the train and test sets are shown in the graphs on the right. Red represents the drusen, green the DME, and blue the CNV, and the legend shows you the number of patients belonging to each class. We evaluate ResNet 18 and DenseNet 121 architectures trained from scratch to classify images in our framework. During each training round, the ResNet and DenseNet models were trained for as many epochs needed to achieve 98 and 94% accuracy respectively. This is repeated with 5 different random seeds and an average accuracy is aggregated. The classification performance is evaluated on random sampling, least confidence, margin, entropy, and batch sampling baseline algorithms. We initiate patient-aware active learning by partitioning the unlabeled pool into unique patients, where each patient consists of a set of image label pairs from the total number of patients in the dataset. Next, we choose K unique patients from the set P and sample a single image label pair from each of the K patients using the desired query strategy. We then take the selected samples and append them to the training set. We train a model using image label pairs in the train set and record its predictive performance. This process is repeated to determine the minimum number of labeled samples that maximizes the model's performance. In order to evaluate our method, we show learning curves with the accuracy of baseline query strategies compared to the corresponding patient-aware query. In these plots, the x-axis corresponds to the number of samples in the train set at that round, and the y-axis corresponds to the performance accuracy on the test set. Each colored curve is the average of 5 trials using different seeds, with standard errors being showed by the shaded regions. Our patient-aware learning applied to the baselines is shown as the green curve in all figures, while the baseline queries are shown in orange. The blue curve represents random sampling, which serves as the naive baselines for all experiments. All results were achieved using 5.5%, which equates to 3,000 samples of the OCT dataset from the total of 54,589 samples. The learning curves provide intuition about having medical insights guide the decisions of neural networks. For instance, highlighted in purple, patient-aware learning surpasses the baselines on both architectures. This means that in majority cases, querying the dataset with patient-level insights in an active learning setup allows the model to better characterize disease states. Furthermore, we often see patient-aware learning having an edge over baseline algorithms from the early rounds of training. This is because the role of patient awareness plays a critical part in incorporating diversity throughout the training set. The model is thus exposed to several manifestations of a pathology from the onset. Noticeably too, patient-aware learning can sometimes perform the same as baseline strategies as shown in pink. This can happen when the selection of diverse patients do not contain significantly different disease manifestations within the imagery for the model to perform much different from the baseline. To conclude, we have designed an active learning framework that can be used with arbitrary query strategies. Our controlled experiments validate the effectiveness of patient-aware active learning for fine-grained OCT classification on different architectures and also using an unbalanced dataset. This means that patient-aware active learning is a good choice for medical applications of active learning. Thank you so much for listening, and I invite you to check out our GitHub and all our other publications at the following QR codes. I look forward to presenting this information personally to you and friends very soon. Bye!